In this video, I want to talk about safe following distance on the highway. In the book, it says you need to be a minimum of 3 seconds away from the vehicle in front of you on the highway. And so we can see that there's vehicles here in the left lane passing us, and they're not really maintaining that 3-second following distance. So sometimes we mention 3 seconds and students are like, well, how do I measure that, right? The one way you can measure it is wait till you pass an object, a stationary object, for example, this sign here, and you can then count to see 3 seconds later where you are. Or another way to put it is look at a stationary object that a vehicle in front of you passes by. So in this case, this vehicle is lined up with this sign here, and the moment they pass by, you count 1001, 1002, and so even though the vehicle is in the other lane, they're not directly in front of us, we have about a 1.5 second following distance from this vehicle here. Again, I couldn't finish saying 1002, so that's telling me it's somewhere between 1001 and 1002. So that's about a 2-second following distance. But let's walk this video back here. Let's say we've got this 80 km/h sign here. So right there, it just went out of our line of sight, and the video is at 10 seconds. So if I rewind back to 7 seconds, right there, that will give you an indication of how far 3 seconds is. So that's the 80 sign there, and pretty much where that vehicle right now is in front of us is a 3-second following distance. Now keep in mind, this is a minimum safe following distance on the highway, and again, it's dependent on road conditions too, right? So if it's raining really hard or it's snowy, you will observe even a bigger following distance. And also remember that there is no minimum following distance, so this car can be as far ahead as they want, and we don't need to close in on the gap or anything like that. Okay, so the point of this video is being able to measure how far that is. So this following distance we have from the vehicle in front of us, this is a great following distance, and this is what you should be observing on the highway. But now take note of the vehicles that are passing by in the passing lane. And so we're going to do the same exercise and see how far these two cars are actually following from one another in terms of seconds. So we're just going to pick one of the lines here, perforated lines on the ground, and line up that truck right there, and we can see we're 20 seconds into the video, and as soon as I press play, we'll see when this vehicle gets to that same line here. So I'll go ahead and play, and right there, they're there. And that was 1 second. So they're observing a 1 second following distance. This won't even cut it in the city. The book says you need to be 2 seconds minimum following distance in the city. So they're about half the distance they should be in the city, and 1/3 the distance they should be on the highway. And so same idea again with the vehicle that's approaching. So now we will wait and see when this vehicle passes the same sign here. So this vehicle here, the video is at 28 seconds. I'll play it, and there. So now they're about 30 seconds in. So this vehicle here is observing a 2-second following distance. Again, looking at it in the video is not going to be as accurate as if you're measuring it in real life. You would have better perception, depth perception, but it does give you an idea of how close these vehicles are following one another. They're bundled together. Here comes another bundle. And so, you know, most of the time, nothing happens, and everyone's like, well, it must be okay, right? they look at the cars in front of them, they're all doing the same thing. So again, here we go. This vehicle is right by this line here. We're 50 seconds into the video, and now this vehicle is pretty much the same place. Again, 1 second following distance here. Now imagine if something happens to one of the vehicles up ahead and there's a collision or a rear ender. All of these cars are going to be impacted, and none of them have left themselves any room to have to not react abruptly. So what's going to happen is if someone collides up there, or they lose a tire, or an emergency takes place, there's a sudden slowdown, they're all going to have to slam on their brakes, and then subsequently they're all probably going to bump into each other. And that's how you get the 20 car pileups, the 50 car pileups on the highway. Everything is fine until it's not. So when you're driving, don't leave things up to chance. Observe the safe following distance. What I always tell students is, if you're not sure how far 3 seconds is, or how far 2 seconds following distance is, the way you should think of it is, the vehicle in front of you should be able to slam on their brakes, and you should be able to smoothly stop behind them without having to do the same thing. So if they suddenly slam on their brakes and you feel that you have to slam on your brakes not to let a collision happen in front of you, then you're following too close. And even if you do manage to slam on your brakes in time and stop before colliding with the car in front of you, because you've slammed on your brakes, chances are you're going to get rear-ended. So it's a double-edged sword. When you are sandwiched like this between a car in front of you and you're not following or observing a good following distance, and the vehicle behind you is not observing a good following distance, if something happens up there, now you're sandwiched between two cars, and we can't really control necessarily how close the vehicle behind us is following, but we can control the safe following distance we have in front of us. And that distance, when an emergency happens, every meter, every inch counts. So just keep that in mind. And also, just another reminder that these vehicles shouldn't be in this lane. This is not a travel lane. The only travel lane is the one we're in. And right now we're not moving slow, we're going the speed limit. So there's no need for them to be passing us by here. Everyone should be in this single travel lane and just going with the flow of traffic.